I do worry we're going to get in a recession that's not going to be a normal recession, right? We've just gone through 13 years, arguably, of an expansionary period with massive printing of money, interest rates essentially near 0%. And so to me, there's almost this scenario where we could now be stuck in a longer recessionary period than what we're normally used to.
Hey guys, welcome back to Library of Wealth. Today we have Gareth Soloway sharing his technical analysis and predictions for Bitcoin and what we can expect from the stock market and the economy in the next few months. Soloway believes that the economy might face some challenges in the next few weeks, affecting both the stock market and Bitcoin. He anticipates a potential downside for Bitcoin soon, with a retest of 22,300. He suggests that with Bitcoin's move up, this is a critical level to surpass 25,000 and marks the path for massive price action towards the middle of the year. Let's get right to the interview with Gareth Soloway as he talks about the direction for Bitcoin and where we can expect the crypto and stock market to follow in the next few months. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content we do here. Let's get right into the video.
So I do think that we're going to see some downside in Bitcoin here, and we've already seen a little bit of a pullback off the 25,000 marker. But let's take a look at the chart and see what we have in store here. So if we look at the chart of Bitcoin, we can see that the recent highs mirror the high pivot from the August period, right? So it makes a lot of sense why that was going to be a pivot resistance point. And so what we can do is we can basically take a trend line, put it right at that high, and it's the highest point going back to when we made the cycle lows on Bitcoin here, and that's where we stopped out. Now what we're seeing here is actually a little bit of a channel being developed, and again, channels are really handy for kind of giving us highs and lows. So what we can do is we can connect these lows here, and we drag that trend line up, and then we notice that that matches the highs on Bitcoin as well, from here to right here. So what this tells me is that you have a lot of resistance around 25,000, 25,300, but then your technical support is around 22,300. So my guess is we'll retest 22,300. The big question then becomes, do we break that level? I am in the camp that eventually we do break that level and we trade back to about the 18,400 level, which was the midpoint here of this kind of W pattern bottom. So again, I am in the camp that we will see some trouble for the economy here over the next, the next, at least in Bitcoin and the stock market, the next few months. I do think a retest of the October lows, which then brings Bitcoin back to about 18,400. If we look at the daily chart, and I can throw my chart up again here to take a look, is we clearly see that this area here, that first kind of little topping area, that's right at 23.8. And so the idea here is that if you can recapture that high, it starts to tip the scales towards the more bullish side. Now, again, if we put that trend line in here, right at 23.8, you can see right now we are just below it, but you could be putting in a little consolidation that could be setting up for another move to the upside. So this is kind of one of those scenarios where as a trader, I sit back and I watch, because I'm not good enough to kind of determine which direction it's going to go, but it will be interesting. And I agree that if we get back above 23.8 and it can stay there, let's first say for 24 hours, it then increases the probability of us making a move up again and retesting the 25,000 level. Now, if we can't get above 23.8, it goes to the scenario that I just talked about prior, which is where you have to start looking at this 22,300 area on the chart.
Everything is kind of up and to the right for Ethereum. What does it look like in your chart, at least in the short term, back over into these early months of summer?
Yeah, so at least in the short term, we're kind of stuck in the same kind of parallel channel that we're seeing in the Bitcoin chart. And what I mean by that is if we kind of draw a trend line like this, we can bring this down here as well and notice that we're trending sideways to slightly up. Now, the one thing I think is a positive here in the near term, and this is just talking over the next few days to a week or so, is that we had this strong move up where we tested the high, and now you are consolidating. So there is a chance that we could make another attempt, just like with Bitcoin, at the recent highs. If we do that and we can puncture it, you then have the possibility of going up and retesting that 2,000 level. Now, interestingly enough, the 2,000 level was the highest point on Ethereum since the lows were put in. right? And that's
Right.
going back to basically August of 2022. Interestingly enough, Bitcoin has already tested that high from that point. Now, granted, Ethereum made a much bigger percentage move, but it'd be interesting to see if Ethereum still needs to test that level before there's any chance of a corrective move, since Bitcoin already did do it. So it is something I'm watching. I would be, based on the current chart in the very near term, I would be slightly bullish on Ethereum here just over the next few days. I think through the early summer months, my guess is we will retest those October lows. But I think, again, the recession that everyone's talking about will eventually hit. But my guess is likely in the second half. So kind of late summer, fall, maybe into the kind of November, December period. And so I think that the markets are going to be kind of on the kind of the cusp of wondering what's the Fed going to do, right? Because the positive of a recession is the Fed stops hiking and maybe cuts, but the negative of a recession is lower earnings for stocks and maybe a troublesome recession that we can't get out of very easily unless the Fed comes to the rescue. So it's going to be one of those guessing games, I think, over the next 3 to 4 months. And then I do think that ultimately it becomes a very bearish scenario for the overall equity markets and really, to be honest, all risk assets. With crypto, the key is this, right? The further away from FTX we get, and the less there's new FTX scenarios, right, where you scare the market and you worry, people start worrying about, their money and their exchange accounts and so forth. I think the further away we get, the better it is for crypto, right? Now, the big headwind is going to be, when are we going to get the judge's decision on Ripple? When are we going to get the regulation on crypto and find out exactly what it is? I mean, that's kind of the dark gray area here in the cryptocurrency markets. But I think investors are gaining, at least the retail crowd is gaining more and more stamina to be back in this market after they really got scared when FTX collapsed. I do worry we're going to get in a recession that's not going to be a normal recession, right? We've just gone through 13 years, arguably, of an expansionary period with massive printing of money, interest rates essentially near 0%. And so to me, there's almost this scenario where we could now be stuck in a longer recessionary period than what we're normally used to. And again, part of that is the fact that if inflation doesn't come down to 2 or sub 2%, the Fed is not going to be able to lower interest rates back down to where they were for the last big boom in 2021. And so again, the question is, even if they drop, let's say they drop interest rates from 5% back to 3.5%, how does this economy continue to function? And I do worry that we get in this scenario where we're stuck for a multi-year recessionary period. And I've actually gone on record in saying that I wouldn't be surprised if the S&P doesn't make new highs for 5 to 10 years at least, maybe even more.
Soloway believes that the stock market will likely retest the lows seen in October. He says that a recession will eventually hit, potentially in the second half of the year. The Federal Reserve's actions will be a crucial factor in how the market responds, with no end in sight for rate hikes either. In terms of the crypto market, Soloway thinks that the regulatory landscape is currently in a gray area, but investors are becoming more confident despite a massive amount of uncertainty. He also expresses concern about the potential for a longer recession than usual due to 13 years of expansionary policy, including massive printing of money and near zero interest rates. What do you think about the latest interview with Gareth Soloway and his prediction for Bitcoin, the crypto and stock market, and the economy in the coming months? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.